Canadian-Chinese relations are taking yet another hit as the University of Manitoba is advising its faculty to avoid travel to China. It comes after the school cut ties with two Chinese researchers, both of whom worked with deadly viruses, including Ebola and SARS, citing a, quote, policy breach. The university won't comment while an RCMP investigation is underway, but for some insight as to how this may have happened, we're joined by former CSIS director Dick Fadden. Dick, thank you so much for being here. We don't have all the facts, but it's easy when you hear these buzzwords for your mind to go to a worst-case scenario. With someone with expertise in the field, what do you think is the explanation that seems the most likely to you?
Well, for starters, let me just say that for the conspiracy theorists amongst you, this is not a germ warfare center. This is a highly respected research and testing facility which has some very, very valuable intellectual property. So my guess is, and I'm only guessing as you say, it's probably somebody has been trying to steal some of the intellectual property and then send it to China or somewhere else.
All right, well, let's assume that you're right on that this is something that concerns intellectual property. If that's the case, how seriously would this be taken at a federal level?
I think it would be taken very seriously because there's a lot of money and effort invested in this. And one of the other characteristics of this kind of research is you don't want it to be sent somewhere else before it's completed. It means that it's part of a broader effort on the part of China and other countries and companies to steal intellectual property in the West. So if I'm correct, this is just a small example of a broader effort to steal intellectual property from the West, from Canada.
Well, as it stands, Global Affairs Canada's travel advisory for China is, quote, exercise a high degree of caution. That's one level below avoid all unnecessary travel. Do you think this advisory for University of Manitoba faculty will eventually be extended to the whole country, or is this an isolated incident?
It's hard to say, but I must say, unless you have a really compelling reason to go to China, I would not go now. The university may be, out of an abundance of caution, just taking this decision in order to protect its staff. I think there's a decent possibility that Canada may change its decision in terms of travel, because things with China have been going up and down very, very rapidly, and it doesn't seem to take a great deal for them to become annoyed with us and for us in return to become annoyed with them. So I think it's a possibility. But, for example, I wouldn't recommend that you go. It's just too arbitrary right now, and we just don't know what's happening.
Would the university have consulted with Ottawa before making this decision?
I certainly hope so. It's not the sort of decision that institutions should take on their own. Particularly in the current context, I would have thought that the leaders of the university would recognize that any step that we take vis-a-vis China would make things far worse. So if they didn't, I think it was a mistake on their part.
Dick Fadden, thanks so much for your insight today.
My pleasure.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.